All right, guys, this is Justin back with an engineer's perspective, and I put out a video talking about how if you're a pro, this is the knife I suggest is your first good knife. And I said how you should pick up one of these guys, the F-Dick Euro Cut, and I said this is how I think you should maintain it, just like that. You know, slices just fine. So this one isn't dull, but I said that you should buy one of these. This is the King stone I was talking about that I didn't show in the video, but I'm gonna kind of put my money where my mouth is, whatever, and show you how to sharpen this Victorinox 10-inch Fibrox chef knife here when your steel stops working. So let's just dull it. So feels dull. And let's just kind of get into it. So the steel on the Victorinox is pretty soft, about 55 Rockwell. So if you go too steep of an angle, as soon as you cut on something, it'll just roll and it'll just feel like a burr on the edge. So on these guys, I really recommend like a 17 to 20 degree per side angle. And there's 100 ways to learn that, but I kind of just know what it looks like. So I'm just gonna do that, kind of guess the angle there. And I'm just kind of working it in sections. This one is locked. These fingers here are applying light pressure right at the edge where I'm actually doing the sharpening at. So I'm just gonna work that section. Now I'm gonna work the next section. I'm gonna work the next section. And I'm gonna work the next one. And when I do the tip, is basically imagine that the tip, there's one tiny atom right at the very, very tip, and you want to leave that one on there. Whoa, am I going lower than I think I am? It looks like I might be. It's hard to tell. I experimented a lot with this knife. So initially I put a 10 degree angle on this side and like a 20, 25 on this side just to see how I liked it. I didn't. So it's a little bit catawampus if you look at it. But I've just got a condiment bottle here with water. Just keep the stone wet. I permanently soak my king stones, or this king stone. So I just have a bucket I leave it in so it's always wet. So I prefer it that way because I like this stone just really soaked. Some people say soak it for like 10, 20 minutes, but I find it kind of gets dry when you do that. And I prefer the really like muddy breakdown of this stone. So I've sharpened this side and I've raised a burr on this. So hear that versus that. That's because there's like a wire that's rolled up over on this side and I can feel it the whole way. So that means I've reached the apex on that side. So I'm gonna go to the other side, I guess 20 or so. And we're just gonna raise a burr on this side. Working in the sections, doing about 4 or 5. I don't really think too hard about it. So I'm feeling for a burr. I'm checking my progress. I can see I'm going more obtuse than I was before, and that's okay because it was, like I said, a little bit lower than it really ought to have been. Honestly, I've formed a burr across the whole thing, but I'm just gonna do some light passes just to make sure I got the whole edge. Good to go. Burr, might be missing one there. Gonna work that spot a little more, make sure I raise up a burr there. Yep, I got it. So now I've raised a burr on both sides. Now I'm gonna try to kind of just blend my whole bevel together because I was working in sections. So I like to do these kind of long strokes, and it just kind of lines up the scratches and just evens up your finish and your edge. And make sure you flipped the whole burr back the other way so you know you matched the angle. And I'm doing still moderate pressure there. Do the same for the other side. These big strokes, just blending it all together. Make sure I raised a burr that way. All right, so I raised a burr on both sides, evened out on both sides, and now we're gonna reduce the burr. So I'm doing the same kind of strokes, but very light pressure. Basically the weight of the knife. And when you do these, you have to make sure that you're flipping the burr, because it's not about just doing what looks right, it actually has to do something. So when you do these, really make sure you're raising the burr back on the other side, or flipping it, not necessarily raising it. Light pressure, very light. And this is a great knife to learn on, to learn this kind of stuff, because it's soft, and soft knives can be really hard to deburr. I'm just doing the same thing, but this knife is fairly well heat treated, so it deburrs better than most soft knives do. So I did those same strokes to reduce the burr, and then you can see I ended with a stropping one. That's just because we'll end with stropping strokes. Sounds like I'm getting a little dry here. Just gonna throw some of that on. So very light pressure, just trying to flip that burr. And when I can feel it when I flip it, it's smaller each time. So I'm doing like, 1, 2 full strokes there. And I'm just trying to do a little bit less each time. Some knives will have more temperamental burrs than others and will require more of this for longer, and that can get really frustrating. There's lots of different techniques, so I'm just keep checking if I'm flipping it to know if I'm actually doing what I think I am. Lots of techniques though to deal with a temperamental burr, especially you see a lot of them in like Japanese sharpening, because some people don't believe in stropping. I do. Sorry. Okay, so we've got a pretty small burr. So sometimes people will say, yep, you're done. You finished sharpening right there. And I'll wipe off the edge a little bit. You can see that black versus red. The black is the actual steel we removed. So it can like cut paper towels. And I don't know if you can see, but it shaves hair. I'm gonna have to pop this off if I can get it. This arm is very shaved already, but see how I'll shave hair? So a lot of people think that you're done, but you still have a burr on the edge. And the best way to do that, to know, stick your thumb up there and very lightly put your fingers here and try to run them up the blade. And you'll feel it's very like grabby, gritty, sort of a feeling against your fingers. And that's what a burr feels like. It should bite in, but it should feel very like refined if you actually remove the burr. So some people will say to stop there. Don't, your edge retention will suffer. You'll have to come back to this sooner. So now I'm gonna go into very light stropping strokes. And notice how I'm holding the knife kind of at a 45-degree angle to the stone. This is because my wrist angle isn't gonna be perfect. So if I do it this way, it's very easy for it to bend. Whereas if I do it this way, it can't bend that direction. Obviously you can still do that, but the contact is a lot better, so it's more stable. Did I strop the other side? I don't really remember. 1, I'm just do like 5, then 3, then 2, 1 to start. There's no predestined number. It all depends on the steel, the geometry, how big of a burr you initially raised, how many burr reducing strokes were you did before that. So I honestly probably don't need to do all these extra burr reducing strokes because this steel is so soft that usually when you strop it after you've done those initial strokes, it'll take that burr right off. But I'm just doing this because it's a good thing to do and is more applicable to a wider range of knives. I'm gonna feel, still got a burr, but it's very reduced. It grabs onto my fingernail, so it's pretty refined. So I'm gonna wash this off to get all that gritty muddiness off of it. You might be able to see there. And we're gonna strop it. So I'm just gonna step off the line over here. Washing my fingers, the handle, the blade. Use this towel here. All right. So I've got a dry, clean blade. I've got my 1 micron diamond strop. Just gonna match the angle and strop. And if you don't know if you're hitting it, try to go back towards it. You can even do it at the start. So I can't go back towards me because it digs into the wood, so you know you're hitting it. So just dig into the strop if you try to go the other way. That's how you know you're on. I don't know. Just, once again, there's not technically a number. Say on the order of 10 per side. So maybe do like 6 or 8. And then do like 2 or 3. And then do like 1, 1, 1, 1. All right, let's feel it. It's very aggressive, more aggressive than I kind of think it ought to be. Ooh, man, that feels wildly sharp though. Oh, this steel, I tell you, it's soft and it should be a bigger pain in the butt to deburr than it is. It just comes up so good. Like I said, the bevel on this thing is really jacked up because of the experimentation I've done on it. It's not a mirror or anything like that, so I don't know how much there is to see there. But you could shave your face with this thing. Oh man, it's just taking the hair right off. So that's it. That's all there is to sharpening your Victorinox when you get it. So I talked angles, but it doesn't matter. Just if you're going, try to match the factory or go thicker on these knives. But basically is if you're using the knife and it feels like it's rolling over, like it just won't hold the edge, it means you need to go thicker. And you just keep increasing that angle until it stops rolling, or the reverse is you keep going thinner angles until it starts rolling. And that's how you know you've got the perfect edge for your knife. But that's all there is to it. Very straightforward. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.